first and foremost, Pat Fitzgerald, I think, is the ultimate culture builder. He's done that at Northwestern. He's absolutely outstanding. He's got an incredible football team. Again, what I love about Pat Fitzgerald is his culture. We emulate his culture here at Western Michigan. And I will say that in terms of it's about the process. Last year, I think they ended up 10-2 or 10-3 at the end of the year, won 10 games. But 2 years prior to that, were 5-7, 5-7, and missed bowl games for 2 straight years. He kept his staff intact, kept the oar in the water, kept believing in his culture, didn't let the adversity shake up the inside. And look, now they're back to 10-3, and they're rolling. And they've got incredible defense. They've got a linebacker they call the franchise, Walker. He is an exceptional football player. Their defense, I think, they're all strengths, their offense, defense, and special teams. But if I had to pick one, I'd say their defense is really their strength. They got an incredible defensive line, very experienced. Linebackers are very, very talented. A lot of NFL linebackers in the future. And then they've got some guys on the back end that are, I think, also NFL football players. So they've got a very deep defense. They're very tough. They're very sound. They do a great job of swarming into the ball, deflecting passes. They're very active in their movements and in their stunts. They bring pressure, but they bring pressure. Maybe they'll bring one backer at a time. So they're not this wildly crazy exotic defense. They play what they play, and they're very good at it. On offense, they got one of the most experienced offensive lines that we will play against all year. They've got one of the best tailbacks we will play against, if not the tailback, the best tailback we will play against all season. And their wideouts are getting better. From everything I read, their wideouts are getting better, and their quarterback is really getting comfortable in his role. He's a runner. He's gotten better at the throwing. And then their special teams you always have to worry about, because the guy who actually really coaches their special teams and has really gotten a lot more involved is Pat Fitzgerald. And anything Pat Fitzgerald touches or he's involved in, it's usually pretty elite. And you got to give them a lot of credit. They're a really good football team. It's an enormous challenge for us heading to Evanston and Ryan Field. But we are looking forward to that challenge, Al. We really are. We've had a past of playing a lot of Big Ten teams in the 10 years that I've been here. And, we've been close in a lot. But close doesn't get you anything, Al. Doesn't get you anything. But I think we've learned from a lot of those experiences. And I know our team will be focused and ready to go on Saturday.
Brian Kaufman, News Show 3.
Hi, Brian.
Hi. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
You had talked about at Media Day a lot of freshmen who you had hoped might make an impact.
Sure.
Now the camp is done. How pleased were you with your newcomers, and might we see any of them play significant time?
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm very, very impressed with a lot of these freshmen that are going to play for us on Saturday. We've got to continue to piece through exactly who's going to do what and how many reps they're going to get, which we'll do here possibly tomorrow or Wednesday, exactly how many reps they're going to get or around what we want them to get. Because, again, they are still true freshmen. Now, 2 years ago, it didn't matter how many reps they got. They were starters, right? But we're getting to a point in our culture we can fill a lot of holes and a lot of gaps with our freshmen instead of having them truly have to be the starter. But, again, I'm very, very impressed with the athleticism, the size, and the ability to come in and play right away. And the physical physique of a lot of these guys, and the character of a lot of them. So we've got to continue to change our best on a daily basis. We've got to continue to get them ready and get them game ready and not act like true freshmen. And I think that's what a lot of those guys have done, the ones that are going to play for us on Saturday.
PJ, John Creek, Bronco Radio Network.
Hi, Creeker.
How you doing?
You got a kicking question?
Not yet. That's my second one.
Oh, Al.
With most of the offense back from last year, PJ, it should be a good year on the offensive side of the ball. A couple key people you are missing this year, Daniel Braverman and Willie Beavers, who are competing for NFL jobs right now. Who are some of the key leaders to take over for those guys in their spots?
Well, I think everything starts with your quarterback. I will be honest with you. I always say, the two hardest positions in all of football and one of the best relationships you must have in football is the head coach and the quarterback. It always starts with the quarterback. There's not a better man and a better person in college football, in my opinion, than Zach Terrell. And I don't care if Zach Terrell throws for 1,000 yards or 10,000 yards this year. The type of person he is what our culture is all about. And it starts with him. And he has worked extremely hard to get to this position as a fifth-year starter. I know he's looking forward to the football season. And I know he's excited of taking everything he's learned from these 3-4 years and applying them in his senior year. And that doesn't mean it's all going to be easy and smooth. It's going to be rocky at times. And there's not a better leader we'd like leading our football team than Zach Terrell. On the offensive line, we've shuffled some people around. We've got a redshirt freshman starting, Luke Jariga at right guard. John Kenoy is a true sophomore who started as a true freshman last year, one of the smartest young men I've ever been around. You look at our right tackle position, we took Taylor Moten, who played guard last year, but tackle as a sophomore, moved him back to the tackle position. And, he's as good of an NFL prospect as comes along in a long time. And left guard Jackson Day, who's a kid that's really matured in our group and really in our culture since he's been here. Really was an immature player his freshman and sophomore year, but one of those guys as a freshman got thrown into playing. And then you got Shooks Okorafor, who's really played a lot of football for us starting at left tackle. And he's a true junior, but he just turned 19 years old. And if those that know Shooks, he looks like he's 27, 28, maybe 29, and he just turned 19. He's still growing and still learning. Obviously, the running back position's pretty deep, and I'm very, very excited for those guys because they are incredible workers. And our best players are our hardest workers. And I said that last year, but I said that about our key guys. I said that about our key 5 or 6. Well, now that's spread to 20 or 30 of our best players being our hardest workers. And I think that's how we're better than we were last year. Does that guarantee or promise you anything? Absolutely not. Does not promise you anything. Doesn't promise you any type of wins either. And then obviously you got Corey in the wide receiver core. What I love is the growth of Carrington Thompson, the growth of Michael Henry, the growth of Keyshawn Watson, growth of Anton Curtis. You start to see these guys come along that not it's just the Corey Davis show. We are deeper at wideout than we were last year across the board. Now, is it the 1-2 punch of Braverman and Corey? We'll find out who that guy emerges to be. Or is it just going to be 3 or 4 guys who share those? We'll find that out very shortly. But again, and the last guy I'll say is Donnie Ernsberger on the offensive side, probably the toughest football player we have. Football and life are very important to Donnie Ernsberger. And those type of guys have their priorities lined up the right way, and Donnie's one of those guys and one of the toughest football players I've ever been around. So a lot of energy, a lot of positivity on offense, but again, we have to go out and execute. Just because we have returners doesn't mean it's going to be just lead to success. We got to go earn that because we're going to play some elite opponents.
We always talk about your offense with good reason, but your defense, I know you were high on it on media day. You felt that, these recruiting classes, you're finally starting to get the depth that you've been wanting to see on that side of the ball, and you're pretty excited about it. A defense that gave up 28 a game last year. Talk to me about how you think that, why you think that defense is going to be improved.
Yeah, the biggest thing is always think, and this is not, none of you are going to be college football coaches, but if you ever decide to run your own football program at some point, Brian, if you become the high school coach somewhere, here's how you do it. The defense will always be 1 year behind, in my opinion. From the past experience of all the programs I've been around, the defense is always 1 year behind the offense. I think it's a lot easier to play offense as a true freshman. Take a ball and run. Right? If I get generic as possible. Where on defense, you need to have size. You need to have strength. You need to have the athleticism. And it's all got to be matching. When we played a lot of those freshmen our first year here, we played a lot of freshmen on the defensive line. And they got pushed around, shoved around, and it wasn't easy. And even as true freshmen or redshirt freshmen or even true freshmen the next year, same type of thing. So we're starting to mature on the defensive side of the ball. We have a lot of players who have played a lot of football for us, and if you look at our overall roster on defense, we lose 2 actual seniors this year into next year. We're still a very young defense, but guys have played a lot of football, and they're starting to play really well together. And I think one of the areas we're really getting better at is our defensive line, because that's the name of the game. If you can have a defensive line, a dominating defensive line, you got a shot in our league. The Northern Illinois, the Toledos, the Bowling Greens, right? Those are the teams that usually have the most dominating defensive line. And those are the ones that have consistently won championships. So we have to be able to get to that point. If you ever ask an NFL coach or a college coach, what are you starting with on defense? Most of them are going to say either 2 things, a lockdown corner or a defensive lineman. You never pass on an elite defensive lineman. They're just so rare and hard to find. We're getting better. Jimmy Williams, our new defensive line coach, has done an outstanding job of getting those guys better on and off the field, getting their how better. And I really like where that group's headed. And again, you're not going to hear a ton of names, the Spillanes, yes, and the Asante Browns, yes, but you're going to see, and Darius Phillips, but you're going to see some newer guys emerge from this defense that maybe you haven't heard of, that have been around for a while, but have really matured in the culture and really gotten better.
Coach, there was no mention of Levante Bellamy when you were talking about the wide receivers. How do you expect to use him this year, and will he see a lot of time?
He'll see a lot of time. It just depends. That's your first question. I'll answer that one. It just depends on where, because he can play wide out. We trained him all offseason to play wide receiver. Will he play it all the time as a staple? Probably not. Can he play there? Yes. as we continue to go through, he's going to be a running back, but how we use our running backs with how deep we are, we'll be very creative this year, as well as a D. Eskridge from Bluffton, Indiana, a true freshman who's a 10.5, 100-meter guy, and he's built really well. So we have a lot of weapons on offense, but you're not going to really see the 30, 40 carries from one guy or the 160 catches from another guy. You're going to see it spread around. But that, I think, is the signal of a true champion, a sign of a true champion as you go forward, because they're not taking as many hits. You can last longer, and we have more depth at that position than we've had in the past. So hopefully that answers your first question.
Yeah, and on paper, I just finished my 2016 predictions, and I had you going undefeated. Not to jinx you or anything, but
Al, you're an amazing man.
the toughest game.
You're gonna be my life coach, Al. You're just gonna talk amazing things to me.
The toughest game though I had, and the one that I think's most difficult to get by, is the first one. On paper, would you agree that Northwestern's going to be your biggest challenge this year?
It is, because it's the first game. And then we'll talk about the next one when the next one comes. They're all tough. I will say that. One thing about our schedule, and we've proven that last year with Ohio State, Michigan State, and Georgia Southern, and this year the way our conference is playing out in the West and the East, I mean, it is the max loaded this year. And then you look at even our future scheduling with Michigan State and USC next year and so on and so forth. It doesn't get any easier for the Broncos, and nor would I want it to be any easier for the Broncos. We never want our players to understand that you're going to take an easy way to winning, an easy way to success, because there is no easy way to success. It'll catch up to you when it catches up to you, and there is no easy way. So we will always take the difficult way, and I want our players to understand that, not only just in their college football world, but in the real world, that if you truly want it, you got to do it the difficult way. Nothing will be handed to you. And just because you make a soft schedule, or you're going to make a soft schedule, that might promise you some W's, but that doesn't promise you winning in your culture. And we're building this, again, not all chips pushed on red here. This isn't a one-and-done season. We're building this to sustain a culture of winning year after year after year. If I walk outside of Radisson and get hit by a bus, then we're going to be a really good football team, guaranteed, for 5 years at least. And that's the whole vision of when you recruit and when you're developing a culture, not just a hurry up and win, fix it with a Band-Aid. We're doing it the right way. But again, even the right way has failing, and you got to grow from it.
Talk about that first game. What do you see being the toughest challenge for Northwestern?
Well, I think I might have mentioned, I could think of all the aspects of them, but their defense is incredible. I mean, they're an incredible defense. They fly around, they're sound, they're very smart young men. They don't make mistakes. They're kind of like Iceman in Top Gun. I don't know if I can even refer that. Zach probably has no idea. But he was cool as ice, made no mistakes. But that's kind of them. They don't make any mistakes on defense. They rally, they play hard, they have how. They're very well coached. They got an incredible culture, and they got an incredible coaching staff. And when you put that combination together, you're going to have something really special. And championships are won with defense. And I still believe that. And that's why they've been so successful. Their defense has been incredible for a lot of years. Hankowitz, who was here at one point, right? I mean, he's an incredible football coach, and he's done a great job with that defense.